Hello, this is Dennis with A1 Telephone Service and Repair, A1 Electronics. You can reach us on the web at www.a1-telephone.com, and you can also reach us at 618-235-6959. Today I want to show you a really cool PTT telephone, and this is from Holland, and this is Ron's telephone from Florida. And this is the final checkout video of this telephone. There's an initial checkout video of this telephone, and it kind of shows everything that was going on with the telephone. And basically this telephone was kind of unique because this telephone had a key or a lock on the side, and the key was missing, and none of the lock went to a switch on the inside, kind of activated a switch, and that wasn't hooked up, but it was there. And I kind of thought, well, it would be neat to be able to utilize that because it's a kind of a unique feature that was on it. So I'll talk about that a little later. He's got a note here that he's talking about the phone bells don't ring, and the handset cord has an open near the earpiece, and he wants to be able to use the phone to call out and answer and ring and everything. So basically what we did here was this telephone had an end on the line cord, and basically that is no longer going to be used because he wants to be able to plug this telephone into a regular line. And so what we did here was I was able to install a modular plug on his original line cord because I wanted to save his original line cord. So we no longer need this piece here, and we're just going to get rid of that. So now he has a modern modular plug on his original line cord. Another item that we took care of was this number plate. We took that apart and installed a new number card in his number plate, and so that's been replaced. Another issue with this telephone is this handset cord had a hole in it up here near the handset, and that's all been repaired and everything has been secured, and we've went through the handset and checked all the connections and stabilized everything, and the cord is nice and tight. So that's all been gone through. The rotary has been totally gone through in this telephone, and that's all been repaired and oiled and cleaned. We went through the bell circuit and finished up the bell circuit and made sure that it was ringing. And we also did a little, a couple of other things to the hook switch and rewired some things that we wanted wired properly. And another issue here was this lock that we found when and it's in the initial video. So what happened was the key was not here. Okay, the key I picked up at a locksmith's, and I bought a blank. And what I did was I took this lock apart that's on the telephone, and I took that apart and cut a key that I found at the locksmith. And so basically now what you do is you put the key in, and you can turn it and lock, and it will not open with any other key because this key has been cut to it now. And in this mode where you lock the lock and pull the key out, which would be straight up and down, as you can see, this telephone will not dial out. Now, we had some people suggest that this lock was for being able to answer the phone and talk on the phone, but yet not being able to dial out. And that's a very highly it's highly likely that that was probably what it was, or it just turned the telephone off totally. But I thought it would make more sense, as some of the people that had suggested on some of the video or the earlier video, that this be a lock for dialing out. And so basically you'll be able to use this telephone in this mode here when the lock is straight up and down. You'll be able to talk on it, but you wouldn't be able to dial out. And the reason why I'm not sure that that's the way this was set up, or there were some things missing, is the configuration of the switch and how the lock turned and activated the switch. So I basically had to build some linkage off the switch and get it to do the things that we wanted it to do. So I kind of had to redesign some things. Actually, on this dial, it only takes 2 wires for your dialing, and I had to add, I added the switch into the dial and had to create a situation where we redesigned where you'd be able to have dial tone and talk on it, but yet in a certain position you wouldn't be able to dial out, and in another position you could dial out. But it was a lot of work because of the fact that it didn't seem to be set up for that, or something was missing. Although the lock was here and the wiring was here, the phone is not really set up. If you take one of the 2 wires off of the keypad that go to the network, basically you lose your dial tone also. So I had to reconfigure some things and make it basically work. But in the end result, it's been redesigned, and now the lock works just like you would think it was supposed to, where you turn it off and you can't no longer dial out. I kind of have a feeling that maybe that lock and key was just to turn the telephone off totally, but because it was hardwired in to a telephone jack with the end that I showed you earlier, and that was a hardwired situation. So you couldn't just take the telephone out and put it in another jack if they had it fixed that way. So anyway, that kind of goes through that situation. And basically what we want to do is I want to turn my key, I want to put my key in a dialing mode. And you can actually take the key out. So sideways like this would be where you can dial out. And then if you take the key and lock it, you're not going to open it with another key because that's the key to it. You could not dial out, and it's locked. And then this is in the open mode where you can dial out. So once we're all through that now, why don't we do this? Why don't I go ahead and ring this telephone. Hold the hook switch down. It has a very nice ring to it. It's almost like school bells. I'll let that go one more time. I'll give you some dial tone. And now what we want to do is we want to dial our numbers. I think I missed the 9 there. And go to the 0. I want to end in a 2. I want to hang up. Give you some dial tone. I'm going to end in a 2. And I'm going to talk into the handset, so I'm going to transmit into the handset. And this red indicator light on the analyzer is going to turn red every time I speak or transmit. And that's going to be 100% modulation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hello, hello. So we know the telephone is in working condition, and what we want to do now is I'm going to take the telephone And I'm going to plug it into a regular line. I'll give you some dial tone here. And I'm going to dial, say, a time and temp number. I'll try to do this because the cover's not on. It's going to try to move around on me a little bit.
Good afternoon. Shop our entire location online anytime at Offenburg.com. Today is Friday, August 12th. The time is 3:03. Current temperature 97 degrees. Now the weather forecast for the Belleville area. Partly cloudy today, 20% chance of a shower and a thunderstorm, highs in the upper 80s. Showers and thunderstorms likely overnight, lows in the upper 60s. Saturday mostly cloudy. Chance of showers.
And now what I want to do is I'm going to hang the telephone up, give you some dial tone. I'm going to dial my number, and the telephone will be busy. And we'll dial time and temp while we're at it. We'll dial one more time. Give you some dial tone.
Good afternoon. Our body shop can repair almost any make and model for less. Offenburg Belleville, 234-0330. Today is Friday, August 12th. The time is 3:05. Current temperature 96 degrees. Now the weather forecast for the Belleville area. Partly cloudy today, 20%.
So we know this telephone is in working condition, but what I want to show you now is the key and the lock. So we know the key is in the sideways position here, and we can see here that when I dial, it's dialing out, and we're not having any kind of a problem dialing out. I'm going to end in a 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and turn the key, and I'm going to lock it and pull the key out. And now the lock is locked. And this is what's going to happen. I'm going to give you some dial tone. Here's some dial tone. But watch the monitor when I try to when I try to dial a number. It just hangs up, and it comes right back to dial tone. So in other words, if you tried to dial out now, you wouldn't be able to. But yet you could talk on the telephone if if you got a call and the keypad or the rotary was locked in the locked position. You wouldn't be able to dial out. You could get calls, but you wouldn't be able to make any calls. So it's just not going to dial out, and that's because of the key in the lock. And so now they have a key that's been cut, a brand new key that was basically, I took the lock apart and rekeyed or cut the key for this lock. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the key in, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it where you can dial out. Give you some dial tone. And now we're going to go ahead and dial out here. Okay, and now I'm going to lock the key, and you won't be able to dial out. And now I'm going to turn the key on so that in the open mode, so you can dial out. And there's a 2, ended in a 2. So we know this telephone is fully functional now, and the key is kind of a little added extra bonus that we kind of get out of the phone. And it's kind of a unique situation with that key, and basically it all worked out real well. And I think this is a pretty cool telephone, and it has a little option on it that is kind of a neat thing. You can actually turn it off, and you know, we could have just left it alone and not you know, utilized the lock and not made a key for this telephone. But you know, like most shops, probably wouldn't have went into all that and did that. But here, I like to try to do any kind of a little extra special thing that I can, just for the, you know, if you had this telephone and it was in working condition and it's been repaired, you know, the owner or whoever would always look at that key and they would say, or the lock, and they'd say, you know, that would be neat to have a key for that, or, you know, it just doesn't seem totally finished off. I got a lock here. What does it do? What was it for? You know, but now they won't have to worry about that because the lock works and it turns off the dialing, or it turns it back on, and the key can be, you know, the lock can be locked and the key can be taken out. And so it's a pretty cool little added extra bonus, and you won't have to ever look at the lock and wonder what it was for. Now it's an actual usable situation. So anyway, this is Dennis with A1 Telephone Service and Repair. This is the final checkout video of a PTT Holland. This is Ron's telephone from Florida, and it's a really cool telephone, and I don't think anybody would have a problem wanting this telephone. These are really cool, and they're just a stylish, neat telephone. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.